And forth continues between the Sioux City City Council and the Public Library. We're learning much more tonight about the fate of Sioux City's library system, a system that in recent days has seen library trustees pitted against city leaders as to who really controls the fate of the library's fiscal future. Tonight, KTIV's Kaylee Doms with the answer to the question so many people are asking, who's in charge?
On Monday, many attended the Sioux City City Council meeting, but many left with more questions than they started with. The biggest one being who actually controls the library's money. On Monday, Councilmember Julie Shaner acknowledged that the council did propose 3 different budget cuts for the library.
It was proposed that they cut 25% the first year.
So we had 3 proposals on the floor. One was to cut $300,000, one was to cut 25%, and the other was to cut $1 million.
Moments later, Shaner said the council has no say where the money goes once it's approved.
Once we approve that budget, City Council has no say-so where that money goes. It's free for them to use it as they please and as they see fit. And I don't know if many people know that.
So does the decision on how to spend the allotted budget fall on the library or City Council? Mike Collette, Sioux City's interim manager, explained Iowa Code 8A222.
Per the Iowa Code, the City Council decides on what the bottom line amount they give the library, but the library board decides on, how they get to spend it and per what line item they spend it on.
Now, City Council made it clear that they never proposed laying people off or closing branches and don't want that to happen.
Not once in our committee, I'm on that committee, so I know, was it ever said we're laying people off, we're firing people, we're taking away a branch. Not once.
But they did propose cutting the library's budget. The library has to figure out how to make the new budget work. The library told KTIV before the council meeting cuts and closures are exactly what will happen if the budget cut goes through.
With the $300,000 that the mayor would like to see, I mean, not that he wants that cut, but he wants to see how it would affect our services. That would have to probably include closing Perry Creek. If you look at the $1 million, we'd have to consolidate into one building. We'd have to close both Morningside and Perry Creek because we would not have the staff to keep them open. So, because the only way to reach that $1 million would be to reduce staffing.
For now, nothing is official, but we will have a better picture of what could happen on March 18th during the City Council's budget meeting. Kelly Doms, KTIV News 4.
Kaylee, thanks. Now, late this afternoon, we learned the Sioux City Public Library Board of Trustees will hold a press conference this Friday at 10 a.m. to address the library's budget. The fiscal wrap-up meeting is a week from today. A date for the actual budget approval will then be set.